gentlemen. And ladies and gentlemen, we are live once again. It is Wednesday, May 13th, 2026, and I am your semi-savvy, politically minded host, ABBIE KAUFMAN, and I'm coming to you live and in color from our secret hidden location on Newport Harbor in Newport Beach, California. And today I thought I would play us in with a little Jeff Beck. So hold on. And guys, I'm sure that's not I'm sure you picked up on the going down title. Jeff, that was, like I say, Jeff Beck from, God, maybe 1972. But going down kind of came to me as a play-in song, after evaluating the likelihood of the Chinese summit outcomes. Trump is so out of his league. Xi is just going to lean on him and crack him like an egg. Okay. And what Xi really wants out of this deal is he wants the U.S. to severely limit arms sales to Taiwan. And guess what that does? That's right. Makes it that much easier pickings for the Chinese to come in and take it. And we all know what Taiwan means at this point. Taiwan is the future. Taiwan is the chips. Taiwan is everything. Everything. It has the sine qua non, that without which there could not be modern computers, cars, communications, everything. So that's. But anyway, I want to kind of lead off a little differently today. And, I usually start with New York Times and all that. But today I want to kind of lead with the Financial Times and get into exactly what's going on and why. Let's just kind of lead off with the fact that China has robots that go out and dance parades in fireworks displays. Whatever we have, it ain't doing that. If it is doing that, we ain't know about it. So the Chinese are clearly kicking our behinds in robotics. They have a huge company called Unitree, and they shipped, are you ready for this? They shipped 5,500 robots last year at an average price of $25,000. So, we're going down daily. And that begs the question, why are we going down daily? And the answer to the question is we are going down daily at this point because of the Iran war. And let's be really clear about it. The Financial Times refers to it as Donald Trump's war. The major newspapers refer to it as Donald Trump's war. And since it was a war of choice, it's his war again. And now, but see, the real question under all that is why? Why did he say yes? Why did Trump say yes? We kind of know he probably got conned by Netanyahu a little bit. But we see the unintended consequences daily. Inflation, price rises, everything just costs more. And, see, my $100 gas tank is now $135 fill up. So I'm clearly not happy about it. But let's get back to the question of why Trump said yes. And the answer is devastatingly simple. It's the same reason that he is having the reflecting pool painted over for a 1 million job suddenly became a $13 million no-bid contract to Trump's favorite, pool guy. Okay, so let's be straight about this. Donald Trump only does things to benefit him or his ego. to make him feel good. And he wanted to be the guy that broke up the mullah's religious takeover of Iran. He wanted to be the guy to bring freedom. He wanted to be the guy on the white horse and that history would remember, right? Well, we see every unintended consequence that he was warned about coming true. I mean, the generals gamed everything out they told him. And the last person in the room told him something, and Trump says, sounds good to me. And that was all it took. And now you absolutely see, I mean, this may never get sorted out. I mean, in their demand for peace, Iran wants complete control of the Strait of Hormuz. They want U.S. reparations for the damages, and that's just the beginning. And you can see they're in it for the long haul. And guess what? Trump has the attention span of a pistachio. And as a kind of a parallel, not only does Trump have the attention span of a pistachio, but President Xi understands the long game. And he is far superior mentally to Trump. Whatever, I've got this feeling that whatever Xi kind of wants, if it'll help end the Iran war, Trump will give it to him. I think that Xi could ask for the nuclear codes to stop the Iran war, and Trump would be a winner, and he would take that deal every time. So, guys, don't, we know exactly why. This is a war of greed, of ego. He was so infatuated with Maduro in Venezuela. He was just going to redo it again. Everything would be hunky dory, and everybody would love Donald Trump again. And guys, you can see it's not working out that way. And the worst part about this was we were all warned. Everybody that had a voice told us Trump was not the guy. Don't do it. His policies can be a disaster. Don't do it. But and just as an overall theory of mine or position of mine, what was it? I mean, if January 6th wasn't enough to make you not vote for Trump, or what would it take? I mean, the guy's a flaming thief. His reputation for telling the truth is pathetic. And on top of that, he ain't very bright to start with, and the cognitive decline just, accelerates it. And with that in mind, I always say that the stupidest man in the world and the guy who has the nuclear code shouldn't be the same person. But, you see what happened with that. I mean, it just astounds me that January 6th wasn't automatically disqualifying. And I'm sure that his followers, and as a matter of fact, I've had them tell me that, it was a stage, it was fake. And, the fact of the matter is that when you believe something that's not true, you're delusional. Okay. And let's say you don't believe a point that's been argued 60 times. And you still believe that you guys had 60 opportunities, over 60 opportunities to just present evidence in court, not to prove your case, just to present evidence. And you couldn't do it. Okay, so you see why this is justifiably called the big lie. And I'm going to go out on a limb here. And I'm going to say that big lies generally come from big liars. And the fact of the matter is let me get some of the headlines just to give you a little idea. How about this one? U.S. inflation jumps to 3-year high as Iran war propels a cost of living crisis. Oh, how about this? Consumer prices rise 3.8%. Fuel bills soar. Peace deal hopes fade. And you know what all that adds up? Pressure on Trump. But he doesn't care. They outright asked him, do you consider the effects on the American public for this? Or, and he says, no. And the reason is he don't care about us. He only cares about him and our family to some degree. I mean, that's exactly why he's acting like a male dog in D.C. and peeing on every building just so he can have his name on it. You know, Trump has to take honors because people don't give him any. And when they do, they just, playing him like a fool. Oh, like the FIFA people that gave him the first peace award or something. I mean, and didn't Sweden or Norway give him like a fake something or other? And how about the real Nobel winner from South America, who gave her from Venezuela, sorry, who gave her Nobel Peace Prize to Trump as like a consolation to the kid who didn't win it, and he didn't win it because he didn't deserve it. Nobels hardly ever go to undeserving people, and it takes a certain dedication to do that. And I mean, what do you say? What do you say? All this was gamed out. The CIA, as hollowed out as it is, a general will still kind of give you the pros and cons of any given adventure. And this is not an excursion, I mean, I honestly think the word is incursion. And that brings up another point. If someone is too afraid to correct the President of the United States between the distinction between an incursion and an excursion, then what does that say? It says you're a coward. It says you're a coward and the president's going to fire you. So, would you rather be right without principles or wrong with a principle? And we know the choice has been made. They've chosen to be wrong with, they've just chosen to tell the guy whatever he wants to hear. And that's not serving anybody well. And it's leading to the big blow up we're seeing now. This is just, it really is intolerable. As the big inset picture in the New York Times today was Trump boarding Air Force One and waving goodbye and all that. And, the old saying about when the going gets tough, the tough go overseas. I mean, what could be worse over here? The degree to which things are bad could be worse, but the actual stuff is just, underlying. You cannot escape from reality as much and as hard as Donald Trump tries. So anyway, that was why we played Going Down. I mean, I kind of like Jeff Beck anyway, but under Trump's leadership, we are going down. Make no mistake about it. If you can't see it, it's kind of thing. If you don't know by now, nobody's going to tell you. Okay, you really should have gotten a message by now. But this is just kind of a sideline economic matter that was, again, on the front page of the Financial Times. And it was that eBay rejects GameStop's $56 billion offer. And get this, as neither, what do they say? Neither credible nor attractive. I kind of wonder when they made that offer, like, what bank is going to put up anywhere, even part of that kind of money? And even if they do put up that kind of money, what's the likelihood of repayment? And apparently eBay concluded, like everybody else, that the likelihood of repayment would be bupkis. And as we all know by now, bupkis, skadukas, they're all interchangeable, all equal zero. They all equal nothing. Skadukas, bupkis, whatever the case may be. Now how about this? Isn't this interesting? Ukraine is just about ready to start testing drones in the U.S. I mean, if there was ever a poopy-doo eating moment for the president, this is another poopy-doo eating moment for the president. The guy you and your vice president yelled at, insulted, and threw out of the White House. has fought superior war against Russia, and now he's offering to help us after you've yelled at him, called him names, threw him out of the White House. You can't, without friends, you can only go down. And Trump has single-handedly destroyed whatever friendships and business relationships we had. He destroyed the Chinese buying our beans. He's destroyed the Cubans. What good is blockading Cuba? I will never know. I mean, it's always in diplomatic circles. It's always better to try kindness first. But see, Trump's just so limited in his thinking that he doesn't know kindness. He knows one thing. He knows brute force. Okay? I'll repeat that. Brute force is what gets things done in Trump's world, not being nice. I don't think he's ever been nice to know that it works. And his advisors are clearly even more deficient than he is. Like, how about Greenland? I mean, he pissed off Greenland. And Norway when he yelled at the king about not getting a Nobel Prize. Or the president of France. I mean, it just goes on and on. He's just driven every friend away. And how did it start? By not treating them as friends and trading partners. He just viewed them as a source of revenue, tariffs. And you can rest assured that somewhere along the line, Trump had an arrangement to get a little cut of everything. I mean, he just doesn't do things out of the goodness of his heart. And the other day, I asked AI, I said, what is Donald Trump's reputation for truth-telling? And, I can't say I could hear the computer laugh, but, I kind of chuckled writing that. The guy gets convicted on 34 counts of fraud. Well, geez, what's his reputation for telling the truth? I'm going to go out on a limb and pretend I don't know the answer. And I'm going to suggest that his reputation for telling the truth is not it's not very good. I think he might be at 0%. I mean, he's the kind of guy that if it was Wednesday, he'd tell you it was Tuesday. And you know what happens when it's raining? That's right. He will pee on your leg. And you shouldn't be surprised at that, where he pees on every piece of property in D.C. to mark it with his name. Guys, I'm sorry to kind of get off like this today. I try to be a little more local, and we'll get into some local politics here in Orange County. But this is really important. And the reason it's important is because the one way to neuter a president is to have at least one House of Congress. If you have the House, guess what? No money. We're just not going to appropriate it. Okay? You can call us every unpatriotic name in the book. We ain't going to do it. And that would be a very principled stand. Unfortunately, Trump's one of those, well, make me kind of guys, or make me for who's going to enforce the deal. That's always a threat going forward. You can pretty well assume the Supreme Court is not going to change in midstream. They've been all in on Trump this long, and they're just informed. I don't know how the machinations work, but Trump does seem to own the Supreme Court. Now, how scary is that? We have three branches of government: the legislative, the executive, and the judicial. And in the Constitution, they were listed in that order, right? And the reason the congressional clause was first was the founders thought that that the people were the source of legitimacy for a government. Okay. And at this point, there's no, no credibility. But let's say as close time gets a little closer to the election after the primaries, and let's say there's like a lot of dirty stuff coming up, like Republicans registering endorsing and supporting the worst Democratic candidate in order to get them on the ballot to have an easier time for their Republican guy to win. And as time goes on, we're going to see more and more stuff like that. And the reason's obvious. They cannot win by being honest. I mean, number one, it's a word they're not really familiar with. And number two, how in the world do you sell the public on the, I guess it would be the big, beautiful, bad, bill, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. Um, but, it's hard to get people like you when you've driven up the cost of everything. I mean, you are effectively driving people into bankruptcy in the poorhouse. And I'm going to repeat, when he asked, do you take the American public into consideration when you make these Iranian thoughts? And he says, no. Because he don't care. He just wants himself to look good. He just wants himself to be rich. And for that to be true, and there's really no doubt, that means that a pretty good slice of America believed him enough to give him another chance. How in the world after January 6th, I'll never know. How in the world after every reputable economist warned you what was going to happen? And the military had generals saying, don't elect the guy. He's uniquely unsuited. But what'd you do? Geez, we know more than you guys. Let's vote him in. And you didn't know more. You knew less. And, I hate to keep dwelling on this, but, education doesn't make somebody smarter. Okay. I've known tons of people that were not educated at all that I would take my hat off to and humbly ask a question. But that's not the case here. This guy's out for one thing and one thing only. And why? And as often as it gets pointed out, the MAGA and or Trump right don't see it because it doesn't conform to their expectations of Trump. And if something does not line up with their expectations, then it's not the person, it's the thing that happened, right? It's always the expectation. And, we knew what was coming. We were told. And, I've even got an old Republican friend. He's like in his 80s. And I just think he's so habituated to voting Republican that he just wouldn't know what to do. I think it's just, you talk about identity politics. That's it. Everything Trump stands for is bad and wrong in this guy's eyes, but he still gets the vote. And so I asked him, I'm like, John, what's the deal here? What made you vote for Trump? And he says, well, I'm sorry, this cracks me up every time too. But he says, like, well, I just thought he'd be a better businessman. And I'm like, oh, well, let me ask you this. Which one of those 6 or 7 bankruptcies did he learn something from? And of course, my friend got really quiet. And I'm like, don't forget, the guy you just credited with being a business genius drove a casino into bankruptcy. I mean, that's like a drug dealer going broke. How does that happen? It's designed to scam money from people or to separate people from the money under the guise of having fun. And that doesn't really seem like my idea of fun, but when your entire being is wrapped up into fleecing people, you just can't, you know, you can't be surprised. You can only hope that those who did not see eventually see. Of course, it'll be way too late, which is why I played Jeff Beck going down this morning. Guys, I swear the job gets tougher every day, and it's going to take resolve every day, for years to eliminate the problem, much less try to come back from it. At this point, Trump's people are so installed in the government up and down the line that a cabinet official can call a local person, and the local person will jump. So anyway, I'll try to move on a little bit, but that's just disgusting. Oh, and let's just to let you know that Putin's not having it all peaches and cream. Downgraded GDP lays bare pressure on Russia's war economy. You reckon? I mean, besides having the oligarchs hollow out whatever army you had, you were just stupid. You were just stupid. And this brings up a larger point. The asymmetry of warfare these days, or the asymmetry of anything. And, the Navy's got really big destroyers and gunships and all that. But you know what? Iran and Tehran, they have hundreds of small, maneuverable boats that will just play hell with the people trying to transit the strait. A big boat just can't chase a little boat down like this. It's not unlike car racing. Way back when you had the big American V8s and the tiny Porsche 4-cylinders. And the Porsches won their fair share, despite being really underpowered. And how did they do that? They did that by being smart and going lightweight, which meant you could go deeper in the corner before you braked. And it was it's just the most effective way to use lightness, and it won. And I'm going to submit to you that, and again, I'll use Ukraine, with their drone capability, taking down Russia. And make no mistake about it, they have been taken down. And the reason it was so successful was they had drone technology. They didn't raise, a cajillion draftees. Ukraine was smart. They used what they had to their advantage. And the young and the quick and the agile completely beat the old slow goat. And, they say I've been hearing Putin's on borrowed time for a while. You can't help but feel that when the actual hostilities are declared to an end in Russia, the people are going to start noticing the people that didn't come home. And there were lots of them. I mean, lots of Russians just got, what do they say, cannon fodder. And then they had to import souls from, Korea to fight, or to just be chopped up rather as human fodder because, the Russian equipment was old and didn't work. And that's an oligarch scheme, but we'll go into that another day. But anyway, if you get any thoughts about this, give me a call, 949-629-3820, and give me your thoughts on on whether you think I'm credible or not. I get my information from the New York Times and the Financial Times. I check, everything that looks like it, might be a little out of whack. But the truth of the matter is those guys are accurate. They have accurately portrayed Trump as somebody. And, and it's not accurately portrayed. If you just report objectively, that's what you see. Now, the only people or the other group of people who don't see it are people that watch Fox News. And again, I know all the people that just come in and turn it on, and that's kind of like the default. And, of course, they're older, So they don't realize that just because that's the default, that's the view they get propagandized with. The smooth cover-ups, or like the outright non-reporting. So like it seems to me as though I remember a little something, maybe I don't know, a year or two ago, something about Fox News being sued. I think it's by the Dominion voting people. And if I'm not mistaken, it was literally settled on the doorsteps of the courthouse for the bargain price of $787 million. Now I'll be generous and round down to 775, but that's that's over $750 million. And why? Because they were found guilty of lying, defamation, hurting people's characters, business, and earning prospects. It was all a lie. It was just all lies. I don't know, because we're supposedly a nation of laws and not men. We can't just like march to the White House and drag the guy out in his underwear. But you can only hope that there's some reckoning coming somewhere. And I'm going to tell you, as a general proposition, I don't wish illness or bad things on people, but some sort of objective disqualifying event would be nice, just to get Trump out of here. I mean, let's dump them in their problem. And if I'm going to tell you something, I do think that when the Democrats win, and at least the House, that you're going to see a hostilities harden. If you think Trump hasn't doubled down or tripled down yet, wait till you see this. It's just, it's unbelievable that the guy can't recognize any fault. The whole thing about, and keep in mind, Vance does whatever he does with and Hegseth with Trump's approval. I mean, they know he's got their back. And the whole Cash Patel thing is ridiculous in and of itself. I mean, it really is the lunatics running the asylum. And not only the lunatics running the asylum, they're keeping the books and records. And we both know what happens to the people that keep books and records. Usually there's the official version, and then there's the off-the-books version. And, I think you're beginning to get the point. And the point is that, Trump's just a swindler or grifter, liar, cheater. It amazes me. I always tell the story about the what do you call them? About the caddies. I don't play golf or anything. About the caddies, knowing that Trump kicked so many golf balls on the golf course, they'd call him Pele. I mean, the guy just can't do anything without cheating. And we've all known people like that. And I'm going to tell you this, in the election, it really did seem like the stupid frat boy Trump was running against the smartest girl in the room, Kamala. And people chose the frat boy. I just can't imagine why this was, this. Now, see, I might choose the frat boy if I wanted a drinking partner, whatever it is. But I generally don't want a frat boy running anything that's important. Do you? No, I didn't think so, but God almighty, I mean, what's a boy to do after a while? We just got to, toughen up a little bit. And while we're here, let me play that. There's another thing about Ada Briseno and the extreme effort they're going through now to beat her. And I mean, Aid is just the American success story. A Nicaraguan immigrant got a job at a hotel, started the union, became head of the union, worked herself up. At one point, she was the chair of the Democratic Party of Orange County. I mean, this woman's background is just littered with good works. Okay, I mean, there's no question as to honesty, no question as to motivation. There's just no question. She's proven. But let me play this again to get you a little, so you can really see the depth towards the Republicans have sunk.
So I got this in my mailbox yesterday and I thought, that's interesting. I don't remember ever sitting on a gold couch wearing a shiny gold jacket. And then I realized that they photoshopped me. This picture, and honestly, it's very flattering that they would Photoshop me hanging out in such a cool, trendy place. And who are the masterminds who came up with this message? Well, I have an answer. According to the documents that came out yesterday, it's the pollsters for the NRA, the Republican National Committee, and Devin Nunes. And that is the best they can do. Unfortunately, you're going to be seeing much more of this. Donald Trump's closest allies, corporations that have given him more than 20 million, are part of a group that has already committed to spending $3 million to defeat me, because they're afraid of a union leader and a proud immigrant who will take them on and win. Many of these same corporations are attacking me, are profiting millions of dollars off of ICE contracts. So you're probably going to see me photoshopped into a whole lot of other things this election cycle. I hope they Photoshop me somewhere fun. But please remember, these are all lies, and they are funded by Donald Trump's allies.
All right. Now, I can't imagine how much that surprised you to hear that everything they say are lies. I mean, where would they actually have come in contact with the truth to know it? And when they do come in contact with the truth, it's generally not helpful to them. So what do? If the truth ain't helpful, you lie. And that's what the R's have been doing. Just lying for Trump. Trump was right about everything. Well, let me ask you how those gas prices are working out for you. I don't know about you guys, but I'm not enjoying paying $7 a gallon for premium gas. It's just, I'm just not. How about you? I know things are bad where you are. Let's say, give us a call. Let us know. 949-629-3820. Abbie Kaufman here at the Abbie Kaufman Show. Dying to hear your thoughts on the matter. And there was another headline in the Financial Times. Borrowing costs surge. And that's, a polite way to say interest rates are up. And why are interest rates up? Well, the war. Markets like certainty. And Donald Trump is unstable enough as it is. He's unstable in the U.S. But you put him on the world stage, and he's got, the best military in the world. And he thinks that he's smart enough to command it. He's smart enough to command it. He's smart enough to draw up the battle plans. He's smart enough for everything. Which is kind of awkward when you look at, where are we now, or where we are now. We're the laughing stock of the world. Everything Trump told us about not being respected in Europe was a lie. It's him that's not respected. And it's not like there's a great mystery. The guy's a pig. He's just, his history is pathetic. And you can go back to the New York, social climbing efforts. And like I said, the guy's just a weasel. I might maybe name him President Weasel. And I'll show you how it fits. He kind of weasels in and out of positions. Well, he kind of weaseled out of saying that his friends are going to pay for the ballroom. No, I didn't really mean that. How about the government to take care of it? And yeah, I think $1 billion should do it. And yeah, we're fine with that. You idiot! You got to remember you tore down the East Wing in the middle of the night. You're just a destructive human being, and that's not. It's just what the evidence shows. And of course, that's the problem when people deny the evidence and deny reality. Now, I will bet you that if we were on a jury, these would be the same people that would just hang him high regardless if the guy was innocent as can be. They just wouldn't believe a side just for whatever reason. They just wouldn't take that side. The other side could be just zero in no case at all. But they'll take the thread that makes them feel comfortable. And that thread that makes them feel comfortable is believing that Donald Trump is superior or supreme and all that. And it's not like Trump's, telling people not to do this. I think when you kind of make a couple of AI pictures and what shares an unmistakable similarity between you and Jesus Christ, the let's see, like the Lord and Savior to 1.4 billion people, or how about Pope Leo? Trump knows more about theology than Pope Leo, doesn't he? I mean, it's just insane the position he takes because he has to. And to me, that's just further proof that he is absolutely insane. I mean, can you imagine putting up with anything like this from somebody else? No way, Jose. That ain't gonna happen. So my hope, I can't predict, but my hope is that this all ends fairly quickly, fairly civilly, and we can recover in maybe 20 years. Maybe 20 years. And don't forget the government agencies have been hollowed out. And and another thing. I am led to believe that the IRS is in talks with the FBI to settle Donald Trump's $10 billion claim for tax returns. And in case you're curious, the settlement terms I heard were like $5 billion in cash and an agreement to never ever audit Trump or Trump family members. Strike you as a little odd? It shouldn't. We told you the guy's only out for him and, to a lesser degree, his family. And we can't let that happen. We have laws for a reason. And laws are nothing more than rules. Rules of the game, rules for society. Rules to proscribe certain conduct. You must stop at a flashing light. And others, you should not exceed 80 miles an hour on the freeway. So all of our rules are designed to keep order. All of Trump's rules are designed to enrich Trump. And it just astounds me that people don't see it. Now, what I will be the first one to say is, if you work steadily and you got family, you may not have time to look to know what goes on in the news. You may just catch a few minutes of whatever you think is important, and that's it. So you may not know. And if you're living under a rock, you might want to get out before you're not able to get out. Come out from the rock now. It'll be much less painful. But it's what do you do with somebody like Trump? And I want to kind of go back to the Constitution for just a second. And everybody's heard Article 1, Article 2, Article 3, so on and so forth. And when the founders drafted the Constitution, they listed the branches of government in terms of legitimacy. And they thought that being a nation that has the right to vote that you should exercise that vote rationally, and isn't that the key function or the key element of a democracy? The element of voting. Somebody wrote me some, you know, a poorly thought out reply, and they said something. Tell me where it says democracy in the Constitution. I'm like, you idiot! It talks about voting. That's the hallmark of a democracy. Could you not put that together? And of course, you can't. They live and die by Trump's word. And when Trump's wrong, they die. They just don't recognize it like Trump does. I mean, the guy just, if it's counter to anything in his life, it just doesn't exist. And, and that's not a healthy mental state to be in. His mental state's been questioned, God, for years now. I mean, and you got to admit cajillion tweets at 3 a.m. kind of are consistent with what they say, not having both oars in the water. So anyway, so Article 1 was the legislative branch. And the reason is because that's where they thought since the power was given by the people, then the people should have the power to elect the government. Democracy, right? And Article 2 is what? The executive branch. Meant to be lesser important. And my recollection is that the framers wanted the Constitution to be such that Congress would run more or less the internal affairs of the country, and that the president would kind of be supreme in foreign matters, like a prime minister would be, as opposed to a president. And of course, number 3 is the judicial branch, because they're important to resolve conflicts. It's really nice when you resolve them fairly. But again, that's, the Supreme Court doesn't seem to be resolving conflicts fairly these days. They really do seem to be in the bag for Donald Trump, and what the communication or what the payoff will be. I'm not even worried about, because they're just so satisfied to get it. Don't forget, Roberts has been, he clerked for Scalia or something. Anyway, it's just incestuous the way these clerks work for Supreme Court justices, and then the clerks later try to become the justices. And what you really need, and you shouldn't have any judge being in office for life tenure. I mean, that's just that's unnecessary, and it's counterproductive. We really do need fresh blood in everything, particularly the Supreme Court. And I'm going to tell you why. As complicated as things are these days, I don't think I want my granddad making decisions like that. I want some kind of young, vibrant people that can see the totality of what's going on. Is that too much to ask for? We'll know pretty soon. The primary is coming up in June 2nd. So we've got, and I guess my huge overriding point is that this is a huge opportunity. And not only is it a huge opportunity to take control of the government now, but I am thinking that Trump's final 2 years may be so bad. His final years may be so bad that something will get done. God only knows. But yeah, what would be wrong with having justices limited to 10-year terms, 20-year terms? I don't think it'd be so bad. Life, positions for life are generally. Well, you know what? So much comes down to the integrity of the judge. And the longer you get to, have people call you Your Honor, and the longer you get to conduct the courtroom like it's your own little fiefdom, the more powerful and comfortable you get. and there are a lot of perks with being a federal judge. So, we've got, and like I said, Trump has infiltrated all of this. He's perverted Article 1 of the Constitution by essentially neutering the vote of the House of Representatives. Okay. Number two, God knows he's perverted the executive office. I mean, if that's not a center of corruption, I have no idea what is. And let's be sure and give him credit for also tainting the judiciary, especially the Supreme Court, with the Amy Coney Barrett, Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh nominations. It's not like those guys were legal scholars. Those guys were known to pursue particular positions, and that's why they were hired. Don't think it was some scholarly legal article or some sort of Solomon-like decision that showed wisdom beyond the years. No. Wisdom. The only wisdom they showed was the wisdom in kissing Donald Trump's behind and screwing the American public in the meantime. For instance, this recent Louisiana redistricting case that they allowed Alabama to use the gerrymandered map that eliminated the only black district. Doesn't the mere fact, and in their opinion, they made a big deal. No, these kind of preferences have to end and all this stuff. And guess what happens? And of course, Ketanji Brown Jackson, gives the other side and policy arguments, which of course are superior, but they don't have the numbers. So what you have here is the judiciary also perverted, and that's just not America. We used to be fair and willing to help, and as I recall, we were pretty much like that. The only exceptions I can really remember are Trump's terms. And like I said, how he got a second one, how he was able to convince anybody for a second term, I'm just astounded. I know people didn't want Kamala Harris. I can't understand why. I can't understand why any human being wants superior to a subhuman being. But subhuman beings like the frat boy. He makes people feel good and they laugh at him. So what's there to be done? I think we all know what's got to be done. What's got to be done is vote him out of office. The question is how will he try to prevent that, and can't we overcome it? And I can only hope that between George Conway and the guys at the Brookings and those other DC think tanks are getting a plan in action, because we cannot wait. I mean, we have to hit the ground running. I mean, think about how Trump hit the ground running. Could we do something like that? Damn right. And I'm going to tell you, I'm pretty sure that at this point in time, we will get it. So anyway, give us a call, 949-629-3820, and let us know about what you think about Trump heading to old China to, is he going to outsmart President Xi? Isn't that the question? Is Trump going to outsmart President Xi? Well, let's look at it. Who might be smarter and who might be dumber? Who's got the patience for the long game and who has no patience and can only do things in the short term? I think you see how this begins to split down. And it's like Iran. You can bomb them into submission. You can bomb them back to Stone Age, but the problem is they ain't going anywhere. You've reduced them rubble, but they're still there. And they're still going to make your life miserable. And the reason is you were too stupid to try to do anything, in a diplomatic diplomatically proven way. You must think that every problem is a nail because the only tool you have is a hammer, and you kind of like using it. I mean, you got to throw using the American military. We know it. We could see it. But nobody bites $1,000, and you clearly don't. Well, you might buy 1,000 in the lying department, but I mean, this is all you're doing, every last bit of it. And I just, where this ends and when, I don't know. I mean, Iran could tie the Strait of Hormuz for decades. And somebody could sit there and run it. And, throughout the world, the strait's always been open. Nobody's ever shut it down or closed it before. Until, that's right, until Trump went to war with Iran. I mean, and when his chief of staff had that interview and she mentioned about him having the personality of an alcoholic, I don't know people like that, so I don't really know. And then I started thinking about it. That how when people are drunk, they think they can do anything. One of my friends from Mississippi would call it bulletproof drunk. And the problem is Trump perceives himself as bulletproof, and he's not. And when he gets shot, he just refuses to acknowledge. So ultimately, you wind up with like a Monty Python and the Holy Grail situation, where you've got Trump's arms cut off, his legs cut off, and he still keeps going because he won't learn. And I came across a saying not long ago that adaptability is a key sign of intelligence. Well, I'm going to submit that Trump is not a very accommodating guy. And and I've told you what happens, and God knows we are seeing it now. But I'm kind of harangued enough for right now. There's plenty more for later. Let's see. Oh, and how about this? The Iranian war and the future of cheap flights. And you know what that means? No mas. I think budget flights and budget travel are a thing of the past. I actually think we're headed to like a 1930s type depression. At least if you follow the big hedge fund guys, they're more than a little concerned. I mean, we could be in a depression for years. The depression of the 30s lasted almost 10 years and it took World War II to break us out of it. And I'm sure the rules are different these days, especially with the asymmetrical warfare. And, we've just got to stop. That Clinton thing, when you're in a hole, quit digging. The fact of the matter is, every time Trump says something, he puts in a little shovelful. So it gets that much more dirty and convoluted. And the guy keeps digging because it's all he knows. It's all he knows. It's just, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to tell you, the citizens of the U.S. deserve better. We're clearly not all saints, but then again, we're clearly not all sinners. But you have to have someone with some conception of voters, of the public, of the 340 million people in the U.S. that he didn't think about. His ego and wanting to shape Iran was more important to him than any possible consequences for 340 million Americans. So think about that. Trump put himself ahead of everybody, of 340 million people. So please tell me how that's American or democratic. It's not. It's being a monarch, being a king, being a sovereign, whatever you want to call it. It's just, a dangerous guy. And, like I say, most of us have some bit of humility about what we know or don't know or may know. But again, I haven't seen humility. Matter of fact, I'm pretty sure that word isn't in Trump's vocabulary. Might not even be in his dictionary. Ugh. So I'm sure you're starting to see the fallout. And I said the best way to see the fallout from the Iranian war is to look at a foreign newspaper, just to make sure you're getting the more or less unfiltered view. You can pretty well count on the BBC to tell you the truth. Reuters, uh, Politico, the hell, they may have a point of view, but they're all fairly accurate and all fairly objective. So with I want to end on one last thing from the Financial Times, and this was an article entitled "How the Dread of AI Unites Americans." And I'm going to tell you, it's really frightening to realize. And I'm going to tell you, if you looked at the stock market today, the Dow was down a couple of hundred, but the Nas and S&P were roaring. Why? Why wouldn't they all go in the same direction? Well, the reason is the S&P, in particular the Nas, are really technological weighted indices. The Dow is just the 30 kind of consumer staples with comings and goings, and S&P uh, you have different companies that enter and exit the 500. But because they are, I guess, faster markets dealing with newer things like technology, they tend to move sometimes clearly independent. And if the big guys are going downhill, it's not always true that the little guys will go downhill also. A lot of times when the big guys go downhill, it opens up the door for somebody else. And guys, I tell you what we're going to do here. I'm going to have to go shed a tear and answer the call of nature. Be right. How shall I spell it right? Back. Nature calls. Sorry about that, guys. We are back, but when nature calls, I gotta answer. So let's ditch that banner. And what else? How about, guys? Why don't you give us a call? Let us know what's going on. 949-629-3820. And let me know how much your last fill up was. Or what have you have you had to stop doing anything? If you're like the rest of us, you probably had to stop driving. But guys, this can be bad for a while. I mean, even if Trump walked away from Iran tomorrow, every problem, not only is every problem that existed before still there, but he added new ones to it. I mean, I fail to see any evidence that he has made life better for anyone not named Trump in his lifetime. And, I'm going to tell you, when New York won't let you run a charity because you spent your charity money buying your stuff, I mean, if you can't trust somebody to run a charity, why would you trust them to run the United States? That might be a hard question. It seems pretty easy to me, but yeah, I can't run a casino, but you give them the largest economy in the world. And I'm convinced that, that you're being fleeced. I'm going to try not to believe you're that stupid to be taken in by his gaslighting, but sure, evidence sure seems to support that conclusion. And, there's a reason why really bright people a lot of times don't get seated on a jury. And that's because they don't want jurors that are too smart. A lot of times you want jurors that, you can kind of fudge the facts with a little bit and maybe get your guy off, or maybe a lesser charge, right? There are some functions in society that are filled by people that aren't very bright. And let's be honest about all this. In any country, in any city, in any village, the bell curve distribution will usually hold. There'll be a few at the top, a little more at the middle, and a whole lot more at the bottom. And so with that in mind, as those basic intelligence levels, you've got to you probably work commensurate with that. If you're not very bright, you might have a job as a maintenance person at the gym, right? On the other hand, if you're super bright, you might be working for, I don't know, how about Elon Musk at SpaceX, which is, between you and me, the future of NASA. I'm not happy about that either, but if Trump can make $1 doing it, he'll sell it, and he doesn't care if it's his or not. If he can make $1 selling something, he doesn't care who owns it. He's happy to go ahead and sell and take money anyway. You can fight it out later. And that's what Trump does. And that's what he's done with the Republicans. He got his gains up front with the big, beautiful bill. And now the bill's coming due. It's just starting to come due. And I just don't know how you go into rural Nebraska, Colorado, Alabama, Pennsylvania, Idaho, wherever you go, someone's going to be met with a hospital closure, or they can't get medical care. Or, no, I don't even want to mention the abortion thing. I mean, that is just absolutely criminal. And I have a really simple proposition or proposal for abortion. And here it is. When the fetus is in the woman's body, she has absolute 1,000% complete control. Why? Because it's in her body. And I don't think society has that right to override, that person's control over their body. So again, there's just this stunning lack of respect and almost contempt for the American public that the Trump administration keeps showing. And I know he's got his, MAGA Christian right base that somehow confuses him with Jesus. I really don't know how that works. I'm not a religious scholar or anything, but I kind of thought that Jesus was like one of those love your brother kind of guys. Maybe the golden rule, do unto others. And I don't. And Jesus might have been a pretty weak guy, according to Trump. But if I'm not mistaken, he did things like, didn't he like heal the sick, clothe the naked, shelter the unsheltered? I mean, wasn't that the epitome of unselfishness? And guess what we have now? You are entirely right. The epitome of selfishness. Uh, I mean, how any woman could vote for Trump after all this, I'll never know. I mean, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. I'll even concede that in some instances, society may have an interest in protecting the unborn and all that. But then again, if they are unborn, that's not like viable or anything else. And I think it's a stunning lack of disrespect to dictate outcomes to one particular class of citizens, being women. I mean, how could you? It's a medical procedure. And exactly what is wrong with Planned Parenthood? I mean, shouldn't you kind of plan your kids and kind of have some rough idea how things ought to go? Well, that works well if you're trying to come up, but if you're someone like Trump, all you want to do is consolidate your position, get more money, more money, more money, and and that's it. It's all he wants his name over everything. He wants to be the richest, whatever it is. And when somebody does that, it's always at somebody else's expense. Well, who's going to pay the bill? Well, it's going to be us, the 340 million Americans that Trump treats with complete disrespect when he does things like starts a war in Iran without considering the implications on the American public. And I think that's how he answered the question. Do you think about the American people when? And he said no. I mean, after a while, the hypocrisy is just stunning. I don't know really what to say. It's just he's got to go. And that's why one of the reasons we started democracyradionetwork.com is we're here to help elect Democrats. We want to portray Democrats in the light most favorable and highlight the qualitative difference you get when you vote Democrat, especially now. I mean, now you've got people running expressly against Donald Trump, like Vindman's brother and twin brother in Virginia. These people starting as Annie Andrews in South Carolina. You can see the cracks. And so what are they going to do? They're going to go all in on this election because if they stop us in 2026 and 2028, it's over for 50 years. On the other hand, if we win and do a good job in 2026 and 2028, it could be 50 years or 48 years before we see a Republican president again. And at my age, that'd be the last one I see. And, I would be happy with that. If I knew that Trump was the last Republican president for a while, I would be happy. And I would hope that while would be, let's say, 50 years at least. Okay, let's see if there's much else I want to say. How about this? The New York Times, let's say the big picture about Trump boarding Air Force One and how these threads to China for the summit of reduced ambitions. So nobody's going to get very much. I know it was a little incident. There was Nixon with, who would that have been? Whoever it was. Clinton family, Obama, and G. And, you know, you know that when anybody negotiated with a Chinese president in the past, and I don't think the president really actually did the negotiating. He had this like a super team. I think this is the first time where Trump has insisted that he's better than any other diplomat, so he should do it. He should meet Xi, and he should pitch and all that. And like I said, Xi plays the long term, and he is much much more sophisticated and much smarter than Trump. And Putin's playing him like a puppet because the guy's such a simpleton, right? I mean, if you pat him on the head and tell him he's a good boy, he wags his tail. If you tell him he's a bad dog, he wants to bite you. We just can't have that in the United States as president. I'm sure every person of a certain age agrees. So, guys, let's go the extra mile. Let's join that Democratic neighborhood club. Volunteer to stuff an envelope, or I know we'd all like rather stuff Donald Trump, but volunteer maybe stuff some envelopes, do a little canvassing phone call. And I'm gonna tell you the reason that's doing that is almost more important than the actual election, because this is how you build a team. And we know what Trump thinks of teams, but we all also know what the real world thinks about teams and teamwork. And it's been proven time and time again that teamwork is the way to go. My way, the highway, doesn't work consistently, if at all. And bless it takes having people smart enough to believe the results. And I don't think we have someone who's smart enough to believe the results. And I'm sure you know what I mean with that. And if you don't know what I mean with that, give us a call at 949-629-3820 and share your thoughts and let us know what's going on. What has become too expensive for you guys? McDonald's is no longer a treat. It's like a mortgage. It's fun. I know everything's a little more expensive out here in Southern California. But I don't think we need another, $25 cheeseburger place. Call me stupid, but I just don't think we need that. As opposed to, and I'm going to give a shout out to the Anna and the deli at Sprouts on 17th Street in Costa Mesa. Sprouts makes a really good sandwich for $5. Are you scaling back? How do you scale back? And what I want to know is, how do you drive less? I mean, I've got I get up in the morning, I go to the gym, go get coffee, go to the library, do some prep work for the show, and drive down, do the show, and then drive back. I mean, I can't drive any less. And let's just get a little more expensive. Oh, and another thing. Anybody have a car battery replaced lately? I had to have one done yesterday on kind of a short notice basis. And I had two choices. It seemed like the first choice was some hot rod $269 battery. But the proper one was like $244 or something. But that's $244 without the $22 core charge, which is $264, and that's without the almost 10% sales tax. So it's like $280 or $290 for a battery. How astounding is that? Almost $300 for a car battery. And here's what I think about this. I think that I drive cars that are, like so old. They don't need the super batteries that they need today for the electronics, and they have some new technology for the new stuff. I think it's applied glass mat AGM or something like that. But anyway, yeah, and regular maintenance. It's not just it's not just the cost of the car. The incidentals. A 1995 oil change is now $120, $130. Excuse me. I have a guy who comes to my house and works on my car because it's so old. And sometimes I take it to his house and let him work on it there. And when I do an oil change, I spend almost $70 on 10 quarts of oil. I only use 7.5, but I got to buy 10. Uh, and then I pay him like $60 to do it and take the oil away. And let's throw $10 in there just for an oil filter. So what has oil change now is $500. Oh, I'm sorry. Well over 100, like $150 for an oil change. And don't forget, the more you drive, the more you need your oil changed. And I will kind of rail on for just a second. Oil and gasoline are the cheapest things you'll ever put in a car. So use really good gasoline and really good oil. I have to recommend top tier gasoline, top tier detergent gasoline for obvious reasons. I personally use Valero, top tier detergent, and as reasonable as gas will be right now. So, and as far as oil goes, I use Pennzoil Ultra Platinum 530, and I use Pennzoil Ultra Platinum because it won some evaluation contest, but the oil is good for 20,000 miles. And of course, I change it every 5. Excuse me, but the theory is the same. You got to put the good stuff in to get it to last because you don't want the the inevitable things that wear with age. And I know things don't necessarily break; they kind of wear and wear and wear. And it's like a shoelace. Shoelace hardly ever pops; it just frays over time. And like most deals, if it's one of those situations where you can pay for it now or pay for it later, you ought to try to pay for it now because it's going to be more expensive later. And that's kind of the way I feel about gas. I can either fill up at $6.80 a gallon, or I can wait till I hit $7. What's more likely? And I just don't see any sort of stability or force for stability making any effort these days. I don't think that anyone would possibly confuse Donald Trump with a picture of mental and physical and emotional stability. He's, I think he's pretty well determined, and if you can't see it, he's just a damaged individual. I mean, he's probably got a place in the world somewhere, but I don't think it's in the White House. And I mean, and all that other stuff. He tore down the East Wing in the middle of the night. How do you put up with this? Please, God, tell me. Is this like payback for Biden being a decent guy? You talk about the Biden crime family, then you look at this kind of corruption, and there's absolutely, I mean, Hunter Biden was a choir boy compared to these guys. And yet they just attacked and made them they just denigrated them. And, like I said, that may work hither and yon, but that's a lousy way to conduct business as the president of the United States. Not a whole lot of people, and you can see in Hungary how well they took to Orban ultimately. If I'm not mistaken, it was something like take a long walk off short pier. I mean, they sent Orban home, and again, he's just another one of those right-wing bigots that Trump catered to and gave airtime. And don't forget, if they got airtime, that means somebody else didn't. Guys, I'll try to Yeah, it's like what 1:30 ish, and we're going for another 30 minutes or so. My voice starting to go. Uh, but I mean, tell me what has astounded you the most. Oh, and I know what else. How about Melania the movie? Do you see that as a bribe of some sort? Now, if I pay $70 for something that's worth 40, I I better have a good reason for paying more than something's worth. And in the political world, when you pay more for something than it's worth, there just may be like an inflated price there or a bribe. Could that be? Does Trump know about bribes? The fact of the matter is, if it's an illegal activity, he's probably got some tangential knowledge of it. And just as a completely aside from all this, I do think we need to say a little thank you to Mary Trump, the niece that Donald screwed out of money. And I keep telling you, the most dangerous place in the world is between Donald Trump and a dollar. I mean, there's no. I used to joke about the most dangerous place in the world being between Gloria Allred and a TV camera in L.A., but I won't do that this time. I do kind of like that though. And let's see what else we got to get across to you guys today. The Nixon goes to China. Oh, so you know what else is on President Xi's mind? And Xi's probably got the answer. But President Xi is kind of curious about exactly how in the world did Donald Trump get bogged down in Iran by such a lesser power? I think we know. Did it by being stupid. Yeah, you can plan on a lot of stuff, but it's with Trump, you just have to plan on stupid. And then you have to plan on waiting him out. I mean, this is, let's see, as we come up on November of 2026 and even the primaries now, June 2nd, we've got a lot of work to do. Democrats have a whole lot of work to do. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I joined 3 Democratic clubs in my city and the 2 ones on either side. I go to both of them a lot, but I just did it so they'd have another member. They'd have another few dollars. Guys, you know how absolutely crucial this is. I can tell you till the cows come home, but the truth of the matter is, you guys, most of you see it pretty clearly, and we're just gonna try to persuade you in the nicest way possible to this is one of those do everything moments. And I think they call it don't leave anything on the field. This is when you have to give your all and just pray to God that your all is going to be enough, because it's going to be really hard to defeat these guys. And the reason it's going to be hard to defeat these guys is they cheat. And, cheaters cheat because they can't win by the rules. And, people like that need to be called out. And, again, it goes back to the big lie and to everything else before that. It's just his makeup. For whatever psychological reasons, for whatever biological reasons, he is what we have. And as painful that is, he is all we have. So we'll try to muddle through and hope our friends can find it in their hearts to somehow forgive us. And if we are able to get back into the good graces, it's going to take a boatload of time and money to restore something we already had. Did you hear that, Donald? We're going to have to spend more to replace things we already had that you broke. And that you broke for no reason. I mean, this obsession with what's he calling it? This the deep state. He's as bad as every other conspiracy theorist. And I told you that uh, to me, they're all delusional dumbasses. Delusional because they believe something that's not real, and a dumbass because they have had 60 opportunities to present evidence, and they couldn't. They ain't got any. That's why they can't produce any evidence. They ain't got any. And rather than fold their cards and fold their tent and go home, the Republicans just commit to being even more deceptive. And in America, don't we all kind of like a fair fight? Isn't that the one thing that just drives an American crazy is an unfair fight? I mean, isn't America the country that gave the world the phrase offends notions of fair play and traditional justice? I think so. I think that's clearly been said more than once. So yeah, like I say, Trump is going to China. Oh, and he's gonna have like Tim Cook and Elon Musk and what's the guy from Nvidia, Wang, something like that. Uh, and I can't imagine what those guys are thinking. Tim Cook, fairly bright guy, right? Matter of fact, Tim Cook was responsible for increasing Apple's revenue by the trillions. And when somebody does that, how do you deny him a $10 million or $10 billion bonus? It's really hard. I mean, Apple is just a cash machine. But anyway, I digress. And want to mention something funny about Steve Jobs, whom I never met. But Jobs always seemed to have a real sense of himself. He was a little egotistical and all that. But he knew what he could do. And he knew what he couldn't do, which makes the whole Wozniak thing even better, right? Because Jobs has this idea of how incredibly powerful this machine is and can be, but he can't build it. So guess what? He meets the fat guy in the t-shirt in the back of the room, Woz, and the rest is history. But anyway, so Tim Cook's with Trump, and does Trump listen to Tim Cook? Kind of doubt it. Should he listen to Tim Cook? Beyond a shadow of a doubt. But sometimes poopy just happens, and but other times, sometimes people just go poopy doo in their pants, and other times it's just gushes out because they're so stupid about controlling the flow. I have no idea what this is. But I'm extremely post-nasal drip. I could have sworn I had some decongestant, so a little while ago to kind of dry me out, but I don't really feel like I'm getting very much. Excuse me. Sometimes this whole radio stuff gets a little hard. You got to talk by yourself for a couple hours, and like I said, I can only do it for about 2 hours before my throat starts getting a little scratchy. But I'm sure other people can do the whole 4. I'm not a whole 4 kind of guy. So as it approaches 1:40, we've got about another 20 minutes or so to go. And we'd love for you guys to call in and let us know what's going on. 949-629-3820. This is your Democracy Network, radio network. And we invite you to tune in at noontime every day to democracyradionetwork.com, and you'll see the streaming link and everything else. And just and let me know if you want to come on, and I'll send you an email link, and you will hit it, and we will be live together once again. And what's that thing? So happy together. Gosh, that post-nasal drip is getting worse. Uh, but anyway, let's see if we can power through another few minutes. Big picture, yeah. Oh, and how about this? Isn't this a little odd? Russia has been hitting American companies operating in Ukraine. And you know what's weird about that? No, what? Well, I thought you'd never ask. What's weird about that is the U.S. is not saying a word, right? And, just, sometimes you can just be, I'm just blinded by the shock, by the incompetency, just absolutely blindsided by it. It's like nothing we've ever seen before. Oh, and guys, forgive me for not mentioning the actual price tag of the Iran war. Now, keep in mind that the reflecting pool magically went from $1 million contract to 13 million no bid contract to the same person for the same product. And by my calculations, that's about a $12 million difference. Just, thought I'd point that out to you. You might want to kind of know who deserves that kind of a tip. I like to get a tip of $1 billion. Oh gosh, these allergies are just terrible right now. But as we approach the quarter till mark, this is Abby Kaufman, your somewhat semi-savvy, politically minded host. Oh, and before I go much further, I meant to do this a little earlier, but I want to shout out some local candidates once again because they're really excellent. Is why I'd like to call out Kelly Brown and Kara Stewart running on Costa Mesa City Council. I think that's districts 3 and 5. I think Kelly Brown is District 5 and Kara is District 3. And I also want to call out Ada Brisenia, who's just been a super, super person in all this. She's running for Assembly in District 67. And as I played you earlier in that clip, Trump's guys are spending $3 million to try to beat her. And actually, they're spending $3 million to lie about her and try and beat her because they told the truth. She'd get elected by a landslide. Let's see, Ada Brisenia. Oh, and I'm going to tell you, Jesse Lopez in District 68 is also really interesting. There is no doubt in my mind that she may not be the Democrat establishment favorite, but I am convinced that her heart is always in the right place. And we've extended a little invitation to her to come on, and we hope to have her on next week and let her tell you a little bit about how and why she's led. I think you'll find that she's led by her heart as well as her head. And on that sort of just a basic level, she can be really good. See, that's the problem. The Democrats have an abundance of riches in the candidate department. So it's really hard to narrow down and say, who's the better candidate when everybody's so really good to begin with. But that's a problem we all wish we had, isn't it? I mean, as far as open talent for the presidency, does anybody doubt Buttigieg would be great? Adam Kinzinger would be great. I think Jamie Raskin would be great. There's tons of people would be great. But see, the Republicans are all tainted or stained by their association with Trump. Everybody that voted for his big, beautiful bill, and that's everybody, every Republican, screwed their own constituents. Why? Because Donald Trump wanted them to. And I mean, I appreciate government efficiency and all this stuff, but I honestly didn't see anything. I didn't think the government was overstaffed before. I thought that we'd just grown that much as a country of 340 million people that we would really need a healthy bureaucracy. But with Trump, you get a paranoid old man who thinks everybody's out to get him. And I want to kind of repeat that for a second. In paranoia or paranoid schizophrenia, when you think that everybody's out to get you, like the guy that had the picture of the seashells with 87 or 8647, to take that as a death threat, aren't you a little perverted? Or aren't you a lot perverted? I mean, I've kind of got my suspicions, but, and the truth of it is everybody else does too. When they're afraid to work on or voice them is another opinion or is a separate question. Uh, but I got to tell you, to the degree, I read where and they had a comic roast of comedian Kevin Hart, and they decided not to include a Melania joke because the whole Kimmel offending Trump and ABC thing. And here's my thought. If you are not speaking or not telling a joke because of Trump, then hasn't he already won? Hasn't he already won the ability to suppress speech? To make someone not tell a joke? I mean, what is this? I'm hoping it's not like the really precipitous decline of a civilization. But, like I said, on some degree, you got to wonder. I mean, the guy's had years and years and years to prove himself as being a decent human being that Americans would be proud to have as their president. Not unlike Roy Rogers, right? But he couldn't do it. Trump just can't do things honestly. He just sees money and all bets are off. And like I said, every Republican that's up for re-election is going to have to run with Trump, and he's going to have to run with Trump on Trump's agenda. A vote for Representative such and such as a vote for inflation. I mean, it's just insane what the Democrats could do this time. And like I say, we're always open here at democracyradionetwork.com to chat with Democratic incumbents and challengers and interesting minds, because I want to portray the Democratic candidates in the light most favorable, in the light most positive, and to help them get elected. That's what we want to do. And you see what happens when the votes shift just enough to put Trump back in the White House. I mean, you really shouldn't have been there after the first time. And after January 6th, what would it take? I can't imagine that not being enough. I just can't imagine. But he's there's a Latin expression called sui generis, and it's like one of its own and one of a kind. And I'm sure dealing with Trump is like dealing with a very unique figure in a lot of ways. But you also know the magic key going in. If you like my old friend Scott Adams had the saying, you got to lube them up before you slip them the chubby. And if somebody lubes Trump up enough, they can slip him the old chubby. And when they slip Trump the old chubby, you can rest assured Trump is going to slip the old chubby to 340 million of us. I mean, he's just how he is. I'm not about to psychoanalyze. I'm not about to second guess. But I will say that if you listen to people that are considered scholarly or knowledgeable in the field, I think you'll agree to a person that, Trump is a loser. And I want to kind of repeat that because it sounded so good. Trump is a loser. I mean, he's like the biggest loser. He's so big of a loser, he don't know how big of a loser he is. I could go on and on like that, but you guys get the message. Action, action, action is the only way. And I also don't have I always come enjoy seeing Reverend Al on TV. And you can say what you want about Reverend Al, but he understands Christianity, and he understands politics. Oh God, excuse me. And he's, Al's been around long enough to know and have some perspective. I can't imagine being like a boy pastor at 13, but yeah, we're growing up in New York back then, it was a little different. So guys, I said I'm trying to hang out another few minutes or so. The post-nasal drip's getting really bad. I can hardly talk. So I'm gonna tell you what I just might do is go ahead and sign off now and try to save my voice for